Just an aside before we start the video, I've actually never done this before ever, but Gus Johnson claimed in his video that him and Sabrina went to couples therapy. And while I was editing this, I saw that Sabrina put out a tweet that said, "Never been to couples therapy a day in my life." So take with that what you may, and I hope you like the video. Hi everyone, it's me again. And today we're going to talk about the newest Gus Johnson video because I felt like I needed to do an update given that I made a video about the first video published by Abelina Sabrina. Actually, I wasn't really going to make a video in the first place, but then I saw Nick is Not Green on Twitter talking about the apology video and how Nick called it embarrassing. And when I saw that, I thought, maybe I should give it a look. And then I watched it and then I realized I needed to talk about it, just kind of go over some things. This will be less serious than my first Gus Johnson video, which I will link in the description, and I'll also put a card up here. That was more talking about women's health and Gus Johnson's actions then. I don't want to reiterate all of that again because I made such a long video and it does video about it, and I will have it available. So today we're going to talk about Gus Johnson's video, reactions from creators, reactions from Gus Johnson's fan base, and kind of overall what's occurred in this time. So again, there will be trigger warnings. There will be abuse, abortion, manipulation, physical and mental health. The parts of the video are part 1, Nick is Not Green on Twitter, as well as other responses that I had seen that inspired this video. Part 2, a point by point going through the actual apology video. And part 3 will be the aftermath, as well as revisiting r/Gus Johnson, because that was a big part of my video last time. So part 1 on Twitter. This is the exact tweet that I was just talking about, and this is from Nick is Not Green. So it reads, "Gus Johnson's actions were unjustifiable, and his apology is embarrassing. To be so vague and dismissive of such unforgivable actions is manipulative at best to his audience and the people in his life who trusted him." Yeah, there's an element of questionability because I know that Eddie Burback had to kind of come out and talk about the issues with the professional relationship that he had with Gus Johnson, as well as the friendship that they possessed. And a lot of these male commentators in that neck of the woods, which I described in my last video, where you have Nick is Not Green, Mr. Beard, Kurtz Connor, Danny Gonzalez, etc., they were kind of like, you know, vibing with the Gus Johnson fans. They were all kind of in the same neck of the woods, right? So for there to be such a blatant call out from Nick is very interesting to me, because it's like, it happens a lot that people are not willing to call out people that are famous that they once supported in the way that Nick is doing when they're creators. Eddie Burback's response was pretty well structured and pretty relaxed, didn't have a lot of kind of inflammatory language or anything like that, where he pretty much just separated himself and said that his trust had been broken with Gus Johnson. But Nick here is saying that it's unjustifiable and blatantly embarrassing, the actions that happened here. So that's a very different approach, and kind of with seriousness like this, I feel like if you do use that softer language like Eddie Burback, which I think was still good at the time, and I think it's still a solid way to have reacted to it, I don't think that was wrong, but it kind of leaves open this idea that maybe it wasn't that bad, maybe nobody's angry about it because Eddie's kind of like, it is how it is, and I'm just not going to talk to him anymore, I don't associate with it. Nick is Not Green also commented on Gus Johnson's video. The comment reads, this is an embarrassing apology. You're clearly avoiding real accountability by being so vague and dismissive of the reality of the situation." I completely agree with this, and I'm going to get into that part once I go into like the step-by-step breakdown of the video. So Nick is Not Green tweeted his comment and said, "Gus hid my comment from his apology video as expected. I really hope that Nick makes a video on it. And if it comes out before I've edited and published this one, it will be tagged in the description. If not, I'm just gonna put Nick's channel in, because stan Nick is Not Green for clear skin." Here's some tweets from not Nick, just from people responding to it on Twitter. Gus Johnson's not even trending, actually. He was last time. I guess, like I said, it's almost hurtful, especially as a woman, given like the type of situation that Abelina Sabrina was in with her health and everything, that this could have been so easily dismissed. The fact that it is at the hands of someone that she was with that had these abusive tendencies. And it's frankly deplorable. We'll get into the subreddit after, but a lot of them are just turning it into oh, well, her video was just kind of about women's health. It was a woman's health video. What are you supposed to do? That was like half of it, but it's also a dealing with these obstacles with your partner and not being neglectful and not gaslighting anybody. But as we've seen in my last video, the response from Gus Johnson's fans is not always the one you'd hoped it would be, to say the least, I think. So, at Anua Nipali, if I said that wrong, I apologize. They tweet, Gus Johnson relies on the hope that his audience is young enough to fall for manipulative apology. Fuck you, Gus. You're just an addition to the overwhelming amount of white abusive men who make funny sketches. Not special and definitely not worth the forgiveness. Yeah, I completely agree with that kind of sentiment. Like I said, that's kind of what I was talking about with Eddie's apology statement, is there's not enough like legitimate call out to people like this from their counterparts, right? It's one thing to have me miss not even 3,000 subscribers kind of talking about, you know, the issues with Gus Johnson and stuff, or these other smaller creators, or even Abelina Sabrina is not nearly at the subscriber base that Gus Johnson is, nor is in that group that he's kind of with. You know, Eddie Burback would say boys support boys, which is cool and everything, but like you should also hold boys accountable when they do need to be, which I'm not saying he did not, but I'm saying there's not enough of those types of responses and not enough urgency and clarity of the gravity of everything in those responses. Do I think Eddie needs to come out with another one? Not necessarily, but I do think that there should be more counterparts to Gus Johnson coming out and being like, no, this is not acceptable, especially after this apology and the reactivation of the subreddit. In the world that we live in now, unfortunately, these types of justifications people can come up with out of anything. People are willing to do some of the strongest mental gymnastics to be able to watch the creators they liked with a good conscience. So it's just kind of how it is as of right now, unfortunately. And all we can do is try to hold them accountable. And, you know, my channel's not big enough to have a lot of impact. So I hope that other people make content on this as well. At Sarah Amelia 05 tweets, give the guy a break. This less than 5-minute BS apology took a while because he stepped away from social media for the last 3 months. Sure, he still had time to fill and post a fucked up YouTube video making light of the issue, but that's not the point. Also, fuck you, Gus Johnson. The fact that, you know, Gus Johnson said, I've taken 3 months off social media, and then you can go on his channel and it says 1 month ago he posted a video. I'll get into that too in the apology breakdown, but I wouldn't call posting a video that's monetized stepping away from social media, because the point of it too is kind of that you're not working. You are entirely dedicated to yourself and growing from the situation, especially posting something unrelated, shutting down your subreddit, and then not commenting on it before that time. This one is from That Queer Kiwi. It says, Gus Johnson's, I was foolish and said some dumb stuff. Bro, you told your girlfriend you'd dump her if she didn't get an abortion, accused her of lying about her pain while she was literally dying, and refused to go to the hospital with her so you could hang with the boys. Yeah. Yeah. Again, that's something that I get into in the breakdown section, but it's the dumb stuff is one of the most reductionist ways you could put placement on someone's life. And I don't care what the 12-year-old Gus Johnson stands are going to say in my comments. Gus Johnson put the value of work over Abelina's life, and regardless of how long-term it was for him, he wasn't the one who was literally dying. Like, I really need people to stop sympathizing as if Gus was the one that mattered the most here, because when someone's life is on the line and someone is going through so much turmoil, to be treated like this, the victim is the one that matters here, not how we can sympathize with the perpetrator. I feel like that doesn't really make sense. Any hoozles. Nick is Not Green retweeted this one. This is from at cal.lauren. This says, this is probably my biggest issue with his apology. The people accepting it are people who have done similar behavior, not people who have been on the other end of it. This comment says, this hit so close to home for me because it was so similar to a situation I also recently went through. I started crying a little bit. I wrote a letter to her literally in the middle of the night last night and sent it this morning. As I was watching this, I kept waiting for the gotcha guys twist/meme part, and it never came. I'm sorry for what you've been through, Gus. I am very similar boat right now. Good on you, though, for the mature self-realization expressed in this video. 3 things wrong with this. 1, the tweet was completely correct to say that it was just people in the same situation. 2, to say that the only way you can sympathize is because you've also done terrible actions and have not come to terms with them is questionable at absolute best. And 3, I still get people in my comment section from my Gus Johnson video, which I posted over 3 months ago, talking about how difficult it was for them to even watch my video or Abelina Sabrina's video and realize that the way that they've been treated by both the medical system and perhaps their partners, and how it has kind of dealt with them, how they've had to deal with it mentally as victims of this system. And to have someone commenting, good job on you, good on you, bro, literally verbatim, it's definitely just, it's for lack of a better term, it's a spit in the face of people that really have had issues with this and have dealt with partners that are similar to how Gus was towards Sabrina. And to say self-realization in this video, I really don't know what you're talking about, because I don't think he's had self-realization by how he reduces it to dumb stuff, but I also feel like he couldn't have gone, I did nothing wrong, because he knew that that would just end his career instantly. I think it was a save face, and I think it was a almost borderline PR stunt. And I have a video, and I'll put the card up here, about YouTuber apologies that I did talk about. And I talked about like how normal lies impacted things and how some people still try to do the one-on-one apology, especially when they can't have proof for things. And I think that's the case for Gus, because I think anything he could bring up about the situation would arguably just make him look worse. And there's something in the back of my mind, this is alleged, but makes me think that it could have even been a bit worse than Sabrina let on, because I think a part of her still cares about him. Part 2, Gus Johnson's actual apology video. So on January 23rd, Gus Johnson put out a 5-minute long apology video. Not even. So if we can remember the last time somebody put out a 4-minute and something second apology video, we all know how that went, and that was Mr. David Dobrik. And I think there's an element and a balance to apologies. And I talked about that in my Rhetoric of No More Lies video, like I just said, that you need to have kind of a balance between length and what you present and how you present yourself. And there's no way for a situation as dire as someone's life almost ending and you having abusive tendencies in a relationship with that person to have that reduced to 4 minutes like that, 4 or 5 minutes, whatever. And before people go, you know, maybe you're pulling smoke, you're blowing smoke out of your ass, you don't really know what you're talking about. Literally, Sabrina watched my other video and commented on my video, thanking me for making it. And I think, I'm not saying that necessarily I know what happened in the relationship, but tendencies of guarding someone's medical situation, ignoring them when they're in the hospital, disregarding their pain and suffering is definitely, I even say abusive tendencies because I don't want to be, I'm not a therapist, I'm not anyone who knows like directly about this type of situation. I don't want to necessarily use the wrong terminology, but abusive is the only term I can think of in this case. Point by point reaction, let's start off with the thumbnail. Love that little sad boy thumbnail. He definitely didn't wear a gray sweater because people would have memed on him for it, I think. And he just wore a little red t-shirt. I hate when apology videos have just like the YouTube selected like square. I don't like people do that because it's just like you're trying to look so like not put together and you know you just put this on the fly because it's coming directly from your heart when it's like these like multi-million subscriber YouTubers. I think it's kind of disingenuous most of the time. You don't have to have like a scandalous thumbnail, but I feel like there should be something. I know when you have the automatic YouTube, the worst part is I have a feeling that wasn't even an automatic YouTube selected image, but he just put in a screenshot that looked like one. I guess the only way you could check that is if you re-uploaded it. And then before you upload it, you saw what thumbnail selection there was for the time frame. But so right at the gate, he says he stepped away from social media from 3 months, despite the fact that there was a video posted a month ago on his channel. So that was already a lie.
Hi everyone, I'm sorry I didn't make this video sooner. I stepped away from social media for the last 3 months to really reevaluate everything that's going on in my life right now.
Even if it's not a lie and that it was like pre-scheduled or pre-uploaded or whatever, he could have said, oh, you have to explain the video because it was posted a month ago. Like, I feel like that doesn't make sense, especially given that the subreddit was also shut down a month ago after this video came out. So he's had his foot in, he dipped his toes in the waters, or he's told someone else to dip the toes in the waters on his behalf, which means he's still involved to some extent. Like, the fact that you're trying to pretend that you've just been like ignoring everything for months doesn't make sense. It's the same thing as when James Charles had the allegations with the minors and he had the Get Ready With Me comeback video. And he's like, I haven't been on social media, blah, 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 when he can literally see his likes on Twitter. It's just, why lie about it? Why lie about it? You can say, like, I've reduced my time. I haven't been involved. you know, and then explain why the video was posted. The thing is too, right? People can say maybe there was something to do with a brand or some sort of contract or whatever. Regardless of that, even if you're legally obligated to post it, he should have had like a community post or a tweet or something. Just goes, I had to put this up under this agreement, or address it somehow, or especially in this video, be like, okay, yeah, I know I wasn't on social media for like 3 months, and I know that there's a video a month ago, but that was pre-uploaded at this day. I did this. Like, explain it instead of just ignoring it when it's like an obvious immediate fact check. That's like the easiest thing to do because it's literally the next video down. He calls it the painful experience we went through.
Happening. A few months ago, my ex-girlfriend posted a video that talked about a very difficult and painful experience that we went through in a relationship together over 3 years.
Never explains that Sabrina had it much worse emotionally as well as physically, kind of ignores the emotional factor of it to her in a way that reduces it a lot more than you'd obviously be wanting from an apology from somebody, especially the fact that he just says my partner and doesn't name her. And while, you know, someone can say, well, Mika, blah, 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 she didn't name him in her video, yada, yada, yada. First off, everyone figured out who it is. Everyone knows who it is. Two, it was Sabrina's story to share. And now that it has been linked directly to Gus, the least he can do is directly acknowledge her. This is the same problem I had my last video with the typed statement. And three, it's my partner, we, while it was a me, it was what you should be apologizing for is a me towards her action. He describes it as if it's something like a turmoil that they went through together and it was like a combined effort and, oh, I slipped up in times in this effort. No, the whole point of her video was that it became a her effort when it should have been a you guys effort, like a both of you effort. That's the problem, right? That there's a cognitive dissonance here. That's just beyond me at this point. Yeah, he said that he was so close to the situation that he couldn't understand the pain that she was in.
I think that during that time, I was so close to the situation that I was not able to fully realize and understand the pain that my partner was going through. And I was not able to fully understand the impact that I had on that situation.
But then according to her, she stated it time and time and time again. And I feel like if you're communicating it, the least you should do is attempt to listen instead of going out for drinks with people on a deal for some sort of project. Then he goes on to the comment that I mentioned earlier, which was the said some stupid stuff. And I said, no, you were literally manipulating and gaslighting your partner. And that's this big separation between stupid stuff and like abusive tendencies towards your relationship. And I just kind of feel like that doesn't really make sense to apply to that type of situation. He said that I thought my actions were right at the time, yet somehow neglects that okay, if you think going to your partner's doctor's appointments and telling the doctor that she's lying about how much pain she's in after she almost died, I don't think these actions weren't right. If you thought you were doing the right thing at the time, you have a character problem. And there's something deeply not right with your person. And there's no acknowledgement of his character. There's only an idea of mistake. But there's no deeper digging of what brought forward those mistakes besides a quote-unquote closeness to the situation. This is also why 4 minutes and 50 whatever odd seconds is not nearly enough to go into something like this, because then it just gives you an excuse to be dismissive in the way that Gus Johnson was. Oh, the classic, well, I mean, it couldn't have been that bad because we dated for a long time after. I hate when people justify things like this. It actually drives me up the wall.
This medical situation happened over 3 years ago, and we continued to date for a few more years after that happened. And during those few years, we talked about this medical time a lot.
People, when they have been abused, often are not able to kind of figure out what happened right away and come to terms with it. Because when you fall in love with somebody and they betray you in such a way that Gus Johnson betrayed Abelina Sabrina, it's not always something that you immediately process. This is also why there's a lot of abuse victims that stay in these relationships for an incredibly long time, as some people never even get out of them. It reminds me of the Sienna May thing, which I'll make a video about that too if anyone wants. I think I already have some stuff kind of brewing for that, but in her statement online, it says, well, no, I couldn't have assaulted Jack because there's no police report. Historically, with how everything's gone in the legal system, and historically, how victims are treated in the system, and how victims are treated when they leave relationships, it makes it hard to justify it to them. Because Sabrina leaving a relationship with Gus Johnson in a way, and if she even talked about it right away or whatever, it's hard to even fathom the flack that she would have gotten and the shit she would have gotten from everybody. Even then, she's still getting shit from these 12-year-old fucking idiots on this on Reddit, just going off about how she's like trying to like clout chase her almost dying, and then like it doesn't make. Oh, I'm getting emotional. Whoop, 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 dial it down. It's just interesting way of acknowledging behavior while not calling out its abusive tendencies and just referring to it as missteps. A misstep is if I'm sleeping and my boyfriend calls me because he wants me to pick him up from an errand or something, and I forgot, or I slept through the call, didn't pay attention, or a misstep is like we're talking about something and then I accidentally say something mean to him. That's like off the top of my head, or I'm in a bad mood and I snip at him. That's a misstep. Outright pursuing the doctors that Sabrina's with to tell them that she's being overdramatic in the meetings that you guys had is not a misstep. That is fiddling with her life. All right. Yeah, calls it dumb and hurtful, not gaslighting, abuse, just horrific actions. Doesn't give any nod to the gravity of everything in a way that is even moderately close to the representation that it deserves. And also, I loved that he shouted out his fans and his professional relationships. Okay. Yeah, your bag's hurt. Yeah. Should be. Yeah, hurt your finances like you hurt Sabrina's body until it almost died by neglecting her. Not getting her to the doctor, not helping her at the doctor's, telling people that she's being overdramatic, which could involve further dismissing treatments that are entirely necessary. Got him, bro. Part 3, the subreddit. This is where the nitty gritty. So, r/Gus Johnson was shut down about a month ago. Subreddit went private. It could not be posted on. As of January 23rd, which was yesterday, from the day I'm recording this, don't know when this is coming out, when Gus Johnson came out with the video, it is back up. And I think this is an attempt of a relaunch of Gus Johnson's career, which we love that. I'm going to read this one thread that I found, and that's all I'm going to read. And you know what? This might be awful of me. Fine, sure. I'm not going to not put the names in this time. I'm going to pop them all up right here. You're going to say this shit with your chest on a public forum. So this is someone who said, a respectful warning to this sub as a longtime fan. After seeing some of the comments left on r/videos thread for Gus's response, I feel that we're seeing a certain new argument that has potential to really hurt Sabrina. This new narrative is that the public had no right to hear about Gus's behavior and that Sabrina was being selfish for telling her story instead of remaining silent. In my eyes, this seems to be marking a shift towards a subtle victim-blaming stance. Ultimately, I'm really hoping that this won't be the new viewpoint the sub adopts. Obviously, I have no control over what everyone decides, that it could be useful to warn everyone of what might be happening. Any thoughts on the validity of this argument and or how it is best to respond? Edit. As a side note, I'm very glad Gus made a response video. I wholeheartedly hope we see him return being the great person we always originally saw him as. So I'm good with the first parts before the edit. I don't think you naturally just become a great person in such a short time after this happens. Even though it's been Mika, it's been a couple years. Yeah, well, he addressed it like shit on a notes app 3 months ago. He addressed it like shit now. So that means he's still like this. All right, it's the comments that made me absolutely volatile? Is that the word I'm looking for? The word in French, c'est comme de... Je veux faire... C'est en français, tu veux dire c'est dégueulasse. C'est dégueu. You want to throw up. It's like, yeah, okay. Okay, let's see. The only counter to this point I can think of is this. Gus has thousands of hours in front of fans, collaborators, streams, videos, etc. In all of those hours, there hasn't been a smoking gun of his behavior being substandard up until this point. So I ask, can we accept his flaws, errors, and apology alongside his decade of public life? The dismissiveness of the Twitter statement also is a smoking gun. And also, people are really good at lying on the internet. Excuse me? There are people who run trafficking rings online, people who pictures from minors online, and you never really know by their YouTube videos and Twitch streams. Hello, what the hell kind of fucking... You can keep it together. Like, there's a reason why there's a term behind closed doors. Like, that's a saying for a reason, right? Put differently, what makes a reputation of someone? A lifetime of positive experiences or a few failures? A few failures. A year of neglecting someone's health and overall ending a relationship where someone almost died. A few errors. What I'm saying isn't meant to diminish the failures. That's not true. Yes, you are. I'm sorry. I literally do this. I literally do this for school. I read statements all the time. That's exactly what you're doing. There's a reason why rhetoric as a concept exists and why things like critical discourse analysis exist, is to see the intent on the writing, even if someone tries to backpedal on it. It is to give credence to the notion that this failure of his has been given a disproportionate amount of attention and weight in public judgment of Gus. Further, the deeper we sig into this significant failure, less representative of the personality it becomes. This is an incredibly significant behavior. This is one of probably the most significant internet failures I have seen in quite some time. I said it, yeah. I think a tweet from 10 years ago that had some bad words in it is a failure that's dismissible after a long term. And I think it would be one thing if the apology video was actually good, but it wasn't. So, and when you keep reiterating a lack of acknowledgement of these behaviors on any level deeper than the pure surface, and you're not just regurgitating points that videos on you made, that's the issue here, okay? Like, I just kind of... That is the big question for each person to decide. Some people may think Gus's actions were too horrible to enjoy their content ever again. Me. Other people may judge that he has truly changed and keep watching, or that it was none of their business and kept watching. That's like the Jeffree Star fan approach, is that like it was none of our business and that he changed, even though there keeps being recurring notions implying that there's no growth or development from this behavior. Neither way is wrong. I don't think either way has the right to judge others on how they respond to the situation. Oh, God. Okay, how do I phrase this one? The not judging for high gravity situations that are kind of involved in higher structures and concepts of society, such as diminishing women's health, misogyny, the patriarchy, all that kind of stuff, by saying it was like not a big deal, you can grow from these failures, is why it keeps happening. Because this is creating like a if it ain't broke, don't fix it mentality on something that is definitely broken and very much needs fixing. When we say she's allowed to, it's possible to acknowledge that Sabrina should be allowed to freely express herself on her experiences while also acknowledging that bringing up drama online is unproductive and feeding into a toxic culture/mentality among internet users that shouldn't exist. Now, in my Jimmy Snow video, I talked about it from Matthew Mercer, and I talked about how it tends to be the most toxic people that will kind of whine about cancel culture, despite the fact that it does have flaws and arguably exists or does not, depends on how you want to define it, kind of a Schrodinger's cat type situation. They want to say it's cancel culture that someone who almost died called out their boyfriend for having abusive tendencies towards them and gaslighting them about their health and has given them lifelong trauma. Okay? Women will have miscarriages sometimes and have lifelong trauma. Women will have ectopic pregnancies and have lifelong trauma. Not only is Sabrina has this trauma of having this happen to her, she also has the trauma of seeing someone who so poorly affected her life be garnered as one of the nicest people on the internet. As to sit there and watch them be praised for their immorality while presenting their actions behind closed doors as some of the most deplorable that there really can be in some instances. When we say she's allowed to express herself, we're talking about Sabrina the human being. When we say she shouldn't have put her personal problems online, we're talking about Sabrina the internet famous content creator and the status it brings. Weighing those things is hard, but that's part of the risk you're taking when you choose to pursue a career as a potential role model for others. Okay, why not that for Gus Johnson? When we're saying he's allowed to express himself, we're talking about Gus Johnson, the human being. When we say he shouldn't have put his personal problems online, we're talking about Gus Johnson, the famous internet content creator, and the status it brings. Weighing those things is hard, but that's part of the risk you're taking when you choose to pursue a career as a role model for others. If you have horrible, dirty laundry, odds are it will end up online. If you are deplorable, if you have issues with minors, if you have issues with your partners, if you have issues with taking advantage of people's money, if you scam, if you lie, if you cheat, it tends to come out. That's a risk you have of being an influencer. This is the risk you have of having a career entirely dependent on the court of public opinion. And no, they did not write that paragraph twice. I just read it the second time. It's kind of an idea that this applies to Gus Johnson as well. And having horrible actions that Gus has said happened come out, that is a risk you have taken. If that risk is too big for him, he should get another job. Maybe this really was the best way for her to achieve whatever emotional relief, accountability, or support she was after, and it really was the absolute best choice she could have made in the situation. But that doesn't change the fact that she sacrificed certain professional responsibilities in the process to do so, and really the latter is the only thing that's our business to judge/criticize. In fact, we have responsibility to do so because we need to remind people that a large following that their words have an impact and shouldn't be taken lightly. Again, Gus Johnson is the person that he is. He has a huge following. If you are willing to put forward actions like that, what implication is there that you will not continue to push that forward? It just doesn't make sense to me. And it's just a bunch of people saying that, like, oh, parasocial relationships, and she shouldn't have put that out there. She's just trying to make us hate Gus. No, you can tell your stories of trauma how you want to tell them. This is the same narrative that people put on Jessie Smiles about Curtis Lepore, and is frankly equally as deplorable and just horrific. So I said that, yeah, these responses are just as bad as before, if not actually worse, because now they're saying everything's cleared and everything should just go back to normal and bing bong, it's over. It's really giving copium. Watch somebody else. There's lots of other people. Millions, actually. People have all of a sudden decided to miss the point when it comes to their favorite creator. And like I said, a similar thought process of Jeffree Star, right? Which is pretend it never happened because they change and it's been a while. But with Gus Johnson, since this all came out, it's only been a couple of months. And since it happened, it's only been a couple of years. In the grand scheme of things, when it's something as traumatic as that, which is not a very long time. In conclusion, Stan Nick is not green but clear skin. Gus Johnson fans have never changed. Gus Johnson has never changed. And the best that we can do now is just not pay attention to either. I guess unless something else comes out. But for now, that's that on that, I think. I am angry now and I need to stop recording. Because this has just been a lot. You guys have a great day wherever you are. And I'll see you around. Bye.